Hey everybody, welcome back to the Still in Love podcast. This is part 2 of our conversation from last week about communication in marriage.
Yes, and it's titled, I Just Can't Communicate with My Spouse. Help.
Okay.
So I'm really excited.
Okay.
Let's dive right into it.
All right.
So we ended off on communication, and I told you on this week we'll talk about how do we communicate, how do I communicate, or how do you communicate with your spouse when they're defensive? You know, some of us live in situations where you have a very defensive spouse and it's difficult for you to communicate with that spouse. And you just want to know, what can I do? What can I say? Because I try to say, express how I'm feeling. And when I express how I'm feeling, my spouse take it the wrong way, or I feel like I can't really be honest. So the only thing that my spouse respond to is if I'm lying or if I'm singing his or her praises, and it becomes frustrating because when I want to have an honest conversation and let them know how I feel, not criticizing them, not putting them down, not dogging them, but just really letting them know how what they did made me feel. I feel like I'm the one that takes the brunt of it. I'm the one that takes the heat. I'm the one that my spouse get upset with because I'm communicating how I feel. Let's talk about that. Are you that spouse? Are you the one that have you have a defensive spouse, or are you the defensive spouse? So let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
All right. I want to first say this about communication. This is so important about communication because I think that's going to get really, really good. But in communication, what you really want to do is create a win-win situation.
Okay. What does win-win look like?
So we talked a lot about this in our premarital counseling as it relates to communication. In communication, oftentimes as a couple, people see life in communication on a job, in a relationship, in a marriage, on a team, as there has to be a loser. Yeah. That's sort of how the world is created, to where there's a winner and there's a loser. There can't be two winners, can't be two losers. But in life, in communication, there can be two losers. A lose-lose situation is when I lose and my spouse loses. That's when, hey, I want something my way. I'm very adamant about something that I want, and my spouse is very adamant about something that she wants, and we can't come to any type of solution because we're very headstrong people, and so it's a lose-lose. So we say, you know what? Since I want to go to Red Lobster. No, I want to go to Chick-fil-A. No, I want to go to Red Lobster. No, I want to go to Chick-fil-A. So since we can't come to any type of agreement, we just say forget it. We'll just go home and eat ramen noodles. Okay. It's lose-lose, and that's on a smaller scale. Correct. But just as it relates to raising kids, or we're going to spank the kids, we're going to put them in timeout. So it becomes a lose-lose situation when you cannot come to any type of resolution. Both parties lose. That's not good. And in a situation, you may have kids where they can't come to grips on if they're watching television or playing the video game, and they're constantly arguing and fussing. You say, everybody go to bed. Everybody go to bed. That's a lose-lose. Nobody won. So that's not good because you don't get what you're looking for. Right. You lose and your spouse lose. Oftentimes, people take the approach of win-lose, where you win and your spouse loses. To where win loses, hey, look, because I'm a better communicator, or I talk, more, or I'm more domineering, or I'm more aggressive in my approach, I win and you lose. I win, hey, look, I want to do this. And because you don't really talk much, it's, well, okay, I just let you do what you want to do. Even though I don't want to do it, I let you do it. So I win and you lose. Correct. That's never good. When I win and you lose, it's never good, because when that happens, you begin to suppress how you feel. Yep. And you don't say anything about how you feel. And then one day you end up blowing up because you've been suppressing everything that you've been feeling because you've been taking losses. Yes. So it's never good to if you're the individual that talks a lot, or that's, that don't mind communicating, more verbal, you don't really mind communicating. Don't think that you're winning when your spouse is losing. Don't think that you're winning when your spouse is silent. We had to work on that in our marriage because I was more verbal. You didn't talk a lot. And so when things would, come to play, or when something would be up as it relates to what we need to do, I would always voice it, and sometimes you wouldn't voice it. Correct. And so we would do what I wanted to do. Correct. But then come to find out, you really didn't want to do everything that I wanted to do. And my deal was like, why didn't you say anything? And so because she didn't say anything, she ended up losing and I ended up winning. And I felt like everything was all good, but she wasn't as happy as I was because she
was taking L's.
Was taking a loss. Now, it goes both ways. So in a situation like that, the responsibility is for her to communicate how she's feeling about whatever the topic is, whatever we're dealing with. But I also have to take responsibility as well as the one that's verbal or more verbal to understand that I need to really get her to engage and make sure that she's okay and make sure that she's not just allowing me to win because, you know, she doesn't want any confrontation because she was very non-confrontational. And sometimes because she was non-confrontational, I felt like she didn't have a problem with it. So me being, you know, more verbal, I needed to engage her more, you know. And so those things are really, really important. So you have a lose-lose, which is not good, a win-lose, which is not good, and you have a lose-win. A lose-win is when you lose and your spouse win. You lose to where, you know what, I just don't want any smoke, so I'm just going to allow you to have your way.
Which is the position that I was in.
Yep. So she was lose-win, I was win-lose. Speak a little bit toward on lose-win. Well, yeah, speak a little bit on lose-win.
You know, I think it really does come down. I think most couples, now there's always an exception to the rule, always. So when we make statements like that, it's just a general statement. But I do think most couples fall under, you have a person who is obviously more verbal, and then you have one that's not as verbal. And you often see that the person who is more verbal, it can come across as if their needs are being met more or they're getting their way more. So in our case, I think it was not necessarily that I just didn't want to smoke. I was a part of that was it was just my personality to just kind of go with the flow. Like, okay, cool. No worries, no problem. But to my detriment, because I wouldn't speak up and I wouldn't say certain things that I didn't really want to do or about things that really bothered me, it felt internally like it was a loss. Like, here I am again, a loss. Here it is again, another loss. Here it is another time I didn't speak up, another loss. Well, it's kind of like the compound effect. Over time, nobody wants to continue to take L's.
Yes.
Nobody, no human being wants that. So because of that, now it will begin to show up in other areas. Now I'm walking around and bitterness may come in or resentfulness will come in. Really, it's resentfulness. I'm resenting the fact that you always get your way.
Come on.
So now I'm upset with you because, well, we are going to agree to do something, and because I don't say anything or I don't speak up, you're going to get your way. And now there's this really ugly cycle of situation, Myron gets his way, I lose. Situation, Myron gets his way, I lose. And again, over time, now I'm upset with you. I have attitudes, and sometimes the attitude was not necessarily about what was happening at the moment. It was an attitude because you hear this feeling, I'm feeling this feeling of loss again. In this relationship. And so, you know, when you start to feeling like that, now, of course, the attitude comes behind it. So I just think it's if couples recognizing that just because this individual, recognizing both for what it is, like, you are more verbal, I am not. Doesn't mean that one is better than the other. And recognizing both as a strength and a weakness and seeing it for what it is. Appreciating the fact that you don't have to compete in a conversation with me. I'm not trying to, just appreciating, I think, both as strengths and both and possibly weaknesses. But honestly, both are strengths. It's a strength that you are more verbal sometimes. It's a strength that I'm not. And so we balance each other out. Absolutely. Really. There really is a good balance.
Yep. And I think it has to be a lot of communication around that, because quite naturally it's, because I want to make sure a situation is created. And before we really understood this language, I wanted to make sure a situation to where I had to win. I mean, to where now if you want to win, I don't mind you winning too, but I know I got it. I'm not taking any L's, you know. And so, but bringing you along that journey with me, you know, had to be very intentional about that, because I felt that long as I was winning, I didn't pay attention to you losing. Because sometimes I didn't know that you felt that you were losing. And so it's that.
And I think at the moment, though, it didn't feel like a loss. I guess I didn't have the terminology to use for what I felt. Wasn't necessary. Looking back, yes, you were taking L's. You were taking personal L's. But at the moment, it just felt like loss. Even though I didn't use the word loss. It just felt like I didn't get my way, or I'm not even involved in this. Like, it's not beneficial to me. Whatever this is, like, the outcome is not beneficial. And that feels like loss. And so, you know, with time and with growth and with maturity, you begin to, or with time and with, you know, exposing ourselves to new information, marital material, marriage conferences, all of this, or just marriage material, listening to other couples, we gain the terminology to use about win-loss. And so, now we know what that is, you know.
And so lose is not good. Win-lose is not good.
Right.
Lose-win is not good. So what you want to do is come to a win-win solution in marriage. How can we both win? And that means that we have to have compromise, you know. So I can win and you can win at the same time. Hey, I want to go to Red Lobster. You want to go to Chick-fil-A? I tell you what, let's do this. This week we go to Chick-fil-A and next week we go to Red Lobster. Win-win is compromise, and win-win is saying that, you know, hey, we both can leave this situation or this conversation. We both can leave this table with us both feeling good and nobody feeling like they lost. Nobody feeling like, you know what, I've been the one that's always compromising. Or I've been the one that's never giving. You know, it's no, I compromise as well. It's give and take. And oftentimes we don't, that's what we don't want. You know, we don't come to that place. So in marriage, every situation that occurs, think about how can we come to a win-win solution as it relates to this particular instance. And so when we begin to develop that, I mean, even that language, that terminology, I even teach young kids this, you know, about win-win, developing that terminology, because sometimes people get frustrated. And when people get frustrated, they have a difficult time to communicate their frustrations. Because I don't know how I'm feeling, and we talked about that on last week. I don't know what I'm feeling. I'm just feeling some kind of way, and I'm feeling frustrated, and I'm feeling mad. And sometimes, you know, when a situation starts off and it doesn't seem favorable for you, you know, communicate how you're feeling. Nope, I don't like how I'm feeling. What if we did this? So you have to speak up, and then in speaking up, you have to know how to speak up. What tone to use when you're speaking up. Because when you don't speak up and you're used to a lose-win situation where you're always losing, the moment you do speak up, then you'll lose it. I can't, we always do it your way. And you always, everything, you have your way, and I don't get anything that I want. And your spouse is looking like, okay, I didn't know that you wasn't getting your way. I didn't know that you weren't happy. I didn't know that you was feeling this way because you never said anything. You never spoke up. So lose-win is never good. And some brothers, you out here especially, you know, who you don't talk a lot. You don't communicate a lot. You don't say what you feel a lot because you feel like when you say something that's going to lead into an argument, so you stay out the way. You just, you know, I'm just going to stay out. I don't want to hear a nagging and complaining. And sometimes it's not about the nagging and complaining. It's about you're not communicating what you need. You're not communicating your desires. You're not communicating how you feel. Get in touch with how you feel and communicate how you feel, and communicate it in a way that's not destructive. Communicate it in a way before you blow up, because sometimes you wait so long before you communicate, and when you communicate, you just blow up. And she's like, where did that come from, Richard? Where'd that come from? You like, but every time I say something, and she's like, you never said anything. But your response would be, because you're going to have it your way anyway. You know what? I'm just going to chill anyway. I'm not going to say anything anyway, because you're going to do what you. Stop going with the flow. It's nobody's fault. When you go with the flow, you're at fault for going with the flow. You can't go with the flow and then get upset when you feel that she has her way all the time. No, you've been going with the flow because you didn't have the wherewithal to express how you were feeling. And so for brothers especially, it's really important to really get in touch with how you feel, to really pray and ask God and read material and listen to podcasts like this based on communication, so that you can communicate better with how you feel in the moment. Because a lot of times as brothers, we don't communicate in the moment. We just wait, and we're not going to say anything. And we just, the storm going to pass over. Because sometimes we view our wives as our mama. And our mama used to fuss all the time, and we like, oh, okay, she gonna get through fussing. And then when she get through fussing, okay, I'm gonna go back to doing what I'm doing. And okay, all right, okay, she talking, clean up, empty the garbage. You need to, that's mama, that's mama, that's mama. And we didn't communicate with our moms, and so now we get married, and our wife, when you gonna empty the garbage? When you gonna come home? You don't never do this right here. I thought it's right here. You just waiting on her to get through talking, and then you gonna go back. No, but in marriage, your wife is not your mom. In marriage, you have to communicate how you're feeling before you get frustrated or before you blow up.
Yes.
When you're feeling a little uneasy, we had this conversation today. We were getting ready to leave the house today, and I forgot what happened. You did something. I felt that she was a little quick with me, and so I was like, all right. I just kind of kept it moving in the house. I forgot exactly what happened. I ain't like how I felt. She was just a little. She was a little quick. You remember that?
No.
Okay. And so then I went to put gas in your car. And so you called me and you said, I
passed. I kept going.
You kept going.
Right.
So I perceived that it was how she told me she kept going. And so whatever happened, I told you, I said, listen, baby, be careful. I said, I feel like you being a little sharp. And she was like, I'm not, you feel like you weren't being sharp. And then I put gas in her car, I put gas in my truck. And I came back to the car and you said, listen, baby, I apologize. Like I wasn't trying to be sharp or quick. I apologize. And I said, I don't think it was you was frustrated with me. You was frustrated with whatever else that you have going on.
And wasn't necessarily a frustration. It was just when I'm moving and I got a lot going on, like I'm just sometimes not conscious of being, I see it sometimes when I'm moving. Yeah. I need everything else around me to be moving as fast or out of my way. When you're in a rush and like you're hurried, so yeah. And when you're focused on one thing, I'm just focused and I'm gone. Like I'm not mindful of or as mindful as I probably should be of maybe the tone that I'm using or I'm just kind of moving. But
I'm going to tell you what the thing of beauty was this. The first part is this. Because sometimes if I don't address that or say anything about that, I'm just feeling some kind of way. Now, when she get in that mood, I don't really want to be around. I don't really want to talk to her. I want to kind of let me kind of stay out of her way because we're going to clash. And so rather than do that, I communicated with you how I felt like before we got too far off, before I snapped back, I communicated, look, babe, I don't know what it is, but just kind of check your tone. So it was communicate with her exactly how I felt in that moment is very important in a non-threatening way, in a way to where she didn't get offended, in a way to where, hey, look, you better watch how you talking to me, girl. Because it wasn't disrespectful. It was just, she was quick and I we had just, there wasn't the atmosphere I felt that had been set. Now, her response was not defensive. Her response was, hey, baby, I'm not, trying to be short with you.
Yeah, I just kind of intentionally.
Yes,
intentionally.
But that you communicated back because you could have got defensive and been like, why you feel like I'm doing this? And it's like, baby, listen, implement this in your conversation because this is what I said to where, hey, listen, this is how I feel. Is that you're being a little snappy. Whether she's being snappy or not, when I say this is how I feel, this is how I perceive this. Listen, ladies, fellas, get this in your vocabulary because I cannot say that you snapping at me because she's like, I'm not snapping at you. I cannot say that you got an attitude with me because she's saying, I don't have an attitude with you. But what I can say is this, hey, look, it's sort of when you said that to me, it felt to me like you was being a little snappy. Now, because she can't argue with how what she did made me feel. This is how it made me feel.
Correct.
It brings healing to a relationship, to a conversation. So now she has to respond to, okay, if what I said made him feel like that, I have one or two ways to respond. Like, well, that ain't what I meant.
And let me stop right here because it's easier said than done.
It is.
When you said that, initially what rose up was, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? What are you like? No, I'm not. So when you walked off, you went back to the truck, and then you came back. It was like, okay, Tori, if
Come on,
I had
girl.
to say it to myself, if that's how it came across, then like
good.
take a pause. Take a pause. Like, are you moving fast? Are you, again, I'm self-aware of myself. Like,
Come
when
on,
I get to
women.
going like that, listen, it's fair game. Get out the way, because this train is coming through. So when I know that about myself. When I'm moving, sometimes it's frustrating to me to stop and pause and deal with stuff, because I got something in my mind and I'm focused. So me knowing myself, being aware, self-awareness, me knowing that, okay, he brought that to my attention. Hey, look, that's not what this is. I get that. Like, I definitely have a tendency of doing that when I'm focused. I just kind of keep going. So I pause, and it's, hey, you take responsibility for that, because again, it was how it made you feel. At the moment, you were feeling like, hey, you being a little snappy with me, like you being a little quick and snappy. All right, bet. Let me fix that. Hey, I apologize for that. To smooth that over, because we literally could have been mad all day long, because I could have pulled off and been like, man, that man, he always got something to say, or and now we got an attitude when it's like, listen, and last week we talked about the end goal. Listen, at this, I don't want Anna. I don't want beef. I don't want, that's not where I'm at. Like, and I want a marriage that works, and so, and I know at the moment you're not thinking philosophical and, I'm always thinking about the end goal, but you really do have to, if that has not been your thinking, it has to become your thinking. You have to think, what do you want to come from this? You can't just, go, I never really thought like that. Well, it probably should be something that you give some serious attention to in changing your paradigms about marriage. And then what do you want the end goal to be? Yes. So it was, with that in mind, it's easier to go back and apologize and fix it. Yes. When I don't want beef is not my end goal. Beef is not the end goal. The end goal for me is that we got a peaceful day. And that's it. Like, let's keep doing that. So, just wanted to make sure we add a little extra clarity to that, because the feeling of me wanting to do that was absolutely there. Like,
and you killed it.
That's it. You because what's the end goal?
That's right.
I kill my pride and I humble myself because of the end goal. If I'm on a team with somebody and coach take me out the game and put somebody else in the game, the end goal is to do what? If I'm stinking up the place and the coach have to put somebody else in, the end goal, I want to win.
That's right.
And if that means I have to sit down and take a breath because I need to regain focus, then let me go on for the sake of the team. Doggone right. I want to hold up. I want the ring on my finger, or I want to hold up this trophy too with the rest of my team. Yes. So, it's just kind of it's team us. It's team marriage. So just thinking about it like that. So the temptation is definitely there. It's always there. But what do you do in the face of temptation? And again, kingdom couples do marriage different.
Yes. We
do marriage different. So if the end for us, the end goal is living peaceably with each other. Mm-hmm. So, we don't do things like everybody else do it. We don't do marriage like the world does marriage. We do, marriage totally different.
Absolutely.
And we have to stand on that. We really do. As kingdom couples, you have to stand on that. There was another point I was going to make, but I swing back around. Oh, this is what it was. As kingdom couples, we do marriage different. And because the spirit of the living God lives on the inside of us,
that's it.
We can't walk around all day long with this inner turmoil of not having peace inside of us, and then not even giving peace to somebody else. If my apology brought peace, then doggone it, apologize, and let's move on. Let's move on, so the rest of our day can be cool, Yes. So,
and I think it's us working that to where, and we don't always get it. No, we don't always get it.
No.
It's me expressing how I felt without just shutting down and be like, man, all right, because I shut down and not say anything, or I could snap back, so really communicating how I feel.
Yep.
Now, if I feel like, okay, I felt some kind of way, I communicated how I felt about what I perceived you to have done. And then if that's not honored or respected. Now I'm on 10.
Yep.
So because for one, it's humbling for me to be able to stop and communicate how I feel. But now when my feelings are not satisfied or validated, it's like, oh, okay. Absolutely. So wait a minute. So I done told you how I feel, and you gonna dismiss my feelings?
Yep.
See, when your spouse communicate with you how they feel, don't dismiss their feelings.
Yeah.
So number one, be very intentional and very careful and very open about how you feel. You know, and non-threatening when you communicate how you feel. And when your spouse does that, do not be dismissive about what they feeling, you know, and like, you know, whatever, you know, you should, because now they in I mean, a male or female, you know, but really a man, he really on 10. You mean tell me I done opened up to you and told you how I feel and you dismiss how I feel? No. So now what it teaches him is he'll never open up again. What it teaches him is to suppress it. What it teaches him is to repress how he's feeling. And so now he suppressed it for so long, then he ends up blowing up. And you like, why is this man chasing me around this house? Why is this man blowing? Why is this man sitting out in the garage and won't come in the house? Why this man won't come home from work and it's 11 o'clock? Why is this man why does he rather talk to his friends and not talk to me? Why does this man rather talk to somebody at work rather than talk to me? Because he feel like you dismiss how he feel. He can't talk to you. He can't communicate with you. He can't open up to you. And he'll rather do anything. He'll rather play golf, watch the game, go in the man cave, read, get under the bed and do anything besides be with you because you dismiss how he feel. Do not dismiss how your spouse feel when they communicate with you about how they feel. Amen.
Amen.
So lose, no deal.
Correct.
Win, no deal. Win-lose, no deal.
Right.
Win-win.
That's the deal.
That's it. That's the deal. Win-win. I mean, that is the solution that we have to come to. Both win. All right. How do you communicate with a defensive spouse? Let me say this. I was reading this article. It's so powerful. It said, to be defensive is to react with a war mentality to a non-war issue.
Okay, say that again.
To be defensive is to react with a war mentality to a non-war issue.
Okay. Okay, I can see that.
You have
That's the feeling. That's the feeling.
You got a woman, like, they just came and they communicated with you how they, hey, look, you know, when you said this, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. What do you mean you brought it? Don't come to me. It's like it was a non-war.
But that lets us know that oftentimes that being the individual that's really being defensive there is something else going on internally. There is absolutely something.
And it's about to communicate that. In other words, defensiveness is an impulsive and reactive mode of responding to a situation or conversation. Listen to this. Rather than listening with an open heart, we respond with our metaphorical shields up and weapons drawn.
I hate to say it, but repeat it one more time.
All right. In other words, defensiveness is an impulsive and reactive mode of responding to a situation or conversation. Rather than listening with an open heart, we respond with our metaphorical shields up and weapons drawn.
What makes us defensive?
Okay. Defensiveness destroys relationships from the inside out. It creates a climate of contention and tension that eventually leads to a loss of trust, alienation, and separation. What makes us defensive?
How do we even get to this place?
All right, listen to this. Feeling criticized or attacked is actually only the trigger for the defensive reaction.
Absolutely.
So you're feeling criticized and you're feeling attacked. That's not the root of it.
No.
That's only the trigger.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. The real root is a deep feeling of inadequacy.
Stop. Just pause.
So the root of your defensiveness is a deep root of the feeling of inadequacy. You feel inadequate. You feel like you're not enough. You feel some kind of way about yourself. So because you feel some kind of way about yourself, you respond with a war-like mentality to a non-war issue.
That's just you can't just keep going. That was a lot. Like, you know, you listening to the podcast, like this is when you pause for a moment and you just like, okay, okay, hold on. Let me take in what he just said. Because at the core of my defensiveness is I don't feel adequate. I don't feel like I'm enough.
And look at anybody that's defensive.
Huh? Well, I look at myself. That is so true. I look at myself. I look at all of the times that I felt that I was defensive. And that is honest to God truth. That it is that. It was, I don't feel like I'm enough. And especially at certain moments when we really feeling like there are certain seasons in our life when we really do feel like we aren't enough. I'm not good enough. I am inadequate. And as a result, that's what I'm going to give out. That's yeah. Yeah. That's
Listen,
really good.
if you have been judged, blamed, criticized, or controlled, you will inevitably feel that there is something wrong with you. You will feel that you are not good enough.
Yeah.
And that hurts. We all want to be accepted and loved for who we are. So when someone says something that sounds like it might be a criticism or a complaint about you, it's just too painful to hear again. What is left is a dangerously fragile person who sees every word, every encounter as a personal attack and comes out fighting to try to avoid getting hurt again.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Let me say that part again. Listen. What's left is a dangerously fragile person who sees every word, every encounter as a personal attack and comes out fighting to try to avoid getting hurt again. So everything you say, everything you do, every encounter, is you feel like somebody is attacking you.
I literally have no words. I literally have no words. Yes, I absolutely see that. I see it or have seen it. Of course, 2020 is always so clear, but I definitely see it in seasons past in my personal life, but even in my encounter with defensive people. It's at the core of that. And you can see it. Sometimes you can see things so much better when you're looking at other people than when you can look at yourself. But it really is like... And you see it though, like when you say something to somebody and their immediate response is, "Well, it's almost like it's a protection. You come out the gate swinging to protect yourself. So your I statements, to fix it or to justify the defensiveness.
Come on.
Yeah, that's worth marinating.
Yeah.
That's worth marinating and really going back. And if you're listening to this podcast, like really sitting down and thinking about, have I been defensive? Is there an area in my life where I don't feel adequate, where I don't feel enough? And this is likely why I'm giving my spouse that work.
What do you mean by that work?
I am giving them much defensiveness. I am giving them much attitude. I'm giving them a whole lot of kickback when my spouse says something to me, especially if it comes across as if it's a critique of who I am, because the one word that you use was fragile. When you are feeling like you are not enough or subpar in any area, you feel you are very fragile. Your little heart is just as fragile. So any little comment takes you out. It takes you out. It takes you out. That's really good.
And instead of talking and listening, you pull up the drawbridge and roll out the big guns because you want to know that you are enough, and you would do anything to keep up this front.
Well, if you just wanted to, I think you're pulling out the big guns with this information on this podcast. Yeah, that's again, this is all worth, after you listen to this, guys, like pull back, make some notes about your own self. You know, maybe this is another area where we can go deeper in just being aware of who we are. Like, this is this is really something.
Yeah. And so, and I know some people have the question of, so what do I do? Because now you've identified,
Yes.
that my spouse is defensive,
Yes.
and I'm the person that's living in this moment. So what do I do with that? I think you have to understand first that, okay, understand this material to where it's not you, and it's a feeling of inadequacy that they have, within themselves. Now you can't go and let them know that the problem is you. You feel inadequate. You don't feel like you're enough, and you trying to put that on me.
Yes.
That's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
But it's you loving them enough.
Yeah.
You loving them enough to really understand that without communicating that.
Yeah.
And really letting them know that they are enough, letting them know how you feel about them, letting them know how you see them, letting them know what God say about them. So you have to, as you minister to broken people, because sometimes you're in a situation where your spouse is broken.
Yeah.
Your spouse has been broken. We don't know who broke them.
Yes.
Was it their father that broke them, their mother that broke them? Was it the circumstance? Was it life? Was it something? But something broke something in them that causes them, that's causing them to be defensive.
Yeah.
And you have to see that and recognize it. And when you see that and recognize it, love them through it. Don't make them pay for their defensiveness, And so when you're dealing with that, you have to be very, 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 very fragile, because they're very fragile. So you have to tread lightly.
Yes.
If you really want to make a difference or an impact or really get into them, let them know, you're coming in a non-threatening manner. If you're dealing with a fragile person, if you're dealing with an animal that's been wounded, a dog that's been wounded, a dog that's been mistreated by their former master, you can't come to the dog in an aggressive approach.
Nope.
Because the dog is very, very, he feels very inadequate, very scared, abused, threatened, because he feels some kind of way. So how would you approach this situation in a very non-threatening manner, in a way to where you can really build the trust of the dog? And once you come in, you can build the trust, rebuild the trust by, hey, going slowly, non-threatening, putting it out softly, until the dog begins to trust again. And now you're running and playing, and you can run up on them but it takes time. And so really understanding that, to where, the issue is deeper than you, and it makes you feel some kind of way, but love them through their issues, love them through their defensiveness, understand that there's a problem, and know that, you have to tread lightly. You have to walk on eggshells sometimes. I know sometimes you feel like this, and you'll hear me say this, ain't nobody gonna be walking on eggshells around you. But sometimes with your spouse, and I tell Tori this a lot, to where when I'm dealing with people, with individuals, and I feel like I've had to walk on eggshells, I said, look, they ain't my wife. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm gonna walk on eggshells, it's gonna be with you. I'm in it with you. And it's like, I don't like when I feel like I have to with you, but my love for you says, that sometime I would do it. Now, this not going to be our culture and our environment, but my love for you says, hey, in this season, I may need to for the betterment of this relationship. But this joker right here, I'm not finna walk on no eggshells. We're not going to pay you to walk on eggshells. We're not going to be friends, and I can't say anything to you, but I think that's important, when you're dealing with somebody, a spouse, that's defensive, tread lightly. Understand the issue. Don't pull away, and don't create a lose-win situation for yourself and just allow them to lose. You have to embrace them. You have to talk about, you have to engage, and a lot of prayer. A lot of understanding, a lot of being transparent, and a lot of, your wording is important. What you say, how you say what you say, really explaining to them, hey, listen, this is not an affront to you. This is not a criticism to you. This is how this particular situation is making me feel. You're good. You're okay. Go overboard sometime, letting them know that they're okay, that they're all right, that it is not them. This is how this situation is making you all feel, and bring them along that journey. You have to be wise and allowing them to get on a journey of healing. Sometimes they don't even know it, but when the light bulb comes on, like even when you said that self-awareness, knowing that. Now, while you was in it, sometimes you didn't know that you were being defensive.
Right.
While you were in it.
Right.
I just felt like, oh my God, like what?
Yeah.
Why she respond like that? But it's really me trying to be wise, prayerfully, and taking you on this journey of letting you know that you are enough, that I don't see you the way, you may see yourself. I don't see you the way the enemy see you, or what the enemy is saying to you, and being very intentional about that. and letting them know that, hey, I approve of you, I validate you, I love you, I support you, you can trust me, and and not just in word, but in my actions, showing that. That is very important. So when you're dealing with a defensive spouse, I mean, you got a lot of work to do. And I don't think this podcast is even, we're scratching the surface here, but I think we really got to go deeper in dealing with it, because people have a lot of questions about that.
Yes.
And also even dealing with, if I'm the one that's defensive, what do I do?
Yes.
Because I'm the one
Yes.
that's defensive,
Yes.
and because I've been hurt, because I've been bruised.
Yes.
And I think, the short answer to that is, you have to really go on that journey of healing.
Yes.
And go on that journey of God, I need to see myself how you see me.
Yes.
And know that I am enough.
Yes.
Because you made me enough.
Yes.
Because God see you as the righteousness of God.
Yes.
You're his righteousness. You're the
Yes.
apple of his eye.
Yeah.
You're peculiar.
Yes.
If you are a believer, that's how he see you. And you have to get to a place in your life where you see yourself
Yes.
how God see you. And when
Yes.
you see yourself how God see you, then you'll feel adequate. You'll know that you're not enough. Not perfect. Not impeccable. But hey, I am enough because I am a child of the Most High God. And because I'm his child, I'm more than enough.
Yeah.
I'm more than. Do you not know who my daddy is?
Yeah.
And if you really understand who you are and who your daddy is, oh my God, it's a confidence that comes with individuals who really know who their daddy is, who really know who God is. And when they begin to see themselves through the lenses of God and how God sees them.
Yeah.
So I think that's important, for those that are defensive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Listen, we got to stop right now. And listen, thank you all for tuning in. We really, really appreciate you. We appreciate your comments, your encouragement. We love to hear about how God is using us to bless your marriage.
Yes.
We want to hear from you. Let us know how we can scratch your itch. Let us know what it is that we can say that can be a blessing to you. Because if we're not being a blessing to you and we're not glorifying God, then we're just wasting our time.
That's
so
it.
we want to make sure that we're a blessing in your life, that God is continually giving us what to give to you. So thank you. Continue to tune in to Still in Love Podcast.
And we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Still in Love Podcast. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode and it has indeed blessed your life. If it has, we need you to do 3 things for us. 1, we want you to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform so that way you can be notified when a new episode drops. Number 2, we want you to review it. Click on that 5-star and let us know how much you enjoyed it. We absolutely love feedback here at the Still in Love Podcast, and this helps us to make sure that we are scratching where there's an itch. And number 3, we want you to share it with a friend or family member. Also, if you have a question, we'd love to hear it and even talk about it right here on the podcast. You can submit those questions at stillinlovepodcast.com. You can also connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Innovation Church Memphis and on TikTok at We Are Innovation. Until next time, peace.
Don't just start in love,
but stay in love.
Thanks for tuning in to Still in Love Podcast. God bless.